not nothing to do with. Are you serious?
There's like a cover over it that you're supposed to wash. That's like
oh no, no, I don't think I have the same one. Because mine's all metal. And it slides off. It slides off and then it has the filter, I say, on both sides.
Mine slides off.
Oh.
But the bottom is like a cloth cover.
No, mine's not cloth. It's metal wheels. You have metal wheels.
No, it doesn't have wheels, I don't think.
Oh, mine moves. Hi Josh, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good, I'm Molly up.
I'm going to make you co-host so you can have access.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Air filters.
Okay. So I just have the email from Lilybeth and Leona at Chang Learning. It says that it registered and it says the start time, but it doesn't say the duration. So I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same. It says starts at 6 p.m. April 9th, 16th, May 2nd, 7th, 14th, 21, 28, 31.
And you could, an hour to an hour and a half, depending on however.
Okay, but no more than that. So cap it at 90.
If you want to, or you can do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was pretty okay.
Yeah, we're flexible, so however way you want to do it, but definitely, we can also vet the kids to see their own parents if they have any topics that they kind of want to go through. But I'm sure you have a list of things, right? Of what kids lovely. I know that algebra was a big thing on the USDT that the kids struggled with.
Oh, okay. I didn't have the new questions up yet. I can do that for the next ones. I can update those. But I was working on just getting the format, the new format here with the 2 modules.
Yeah, if you don't have the questions, that's not a big deal. It's just to go over the topics, because I think the kids need a little bit more of a refresher for the algebra 1.
Okay.
It was a lot. Like, I think there was also parentheses that were missing in some of the exams that I know it's just following.
Oh, so then there were step errors because of the way they were presented. Yeah, the paragraphs and the. Okay. That's not fair.
Yeah, I know. So depending on how they calculated it,
Okay.
So that was how the parents were complaining. They were like, my kid is a strong AP Calculus VC, and when he saw that exam, I guess the second module that was harder, it was really hard. And some of them didn't finish, and they said, but I saw a lot of people saying there were no parentheses for that. The one in March 9th, that exam did not have parentheses for the math equations.
Right, I haven't gotten any feedback from the tutoring house yet, but I was told, Miss Rothman and a few other Brooklyn Tech teachers, they said, there was an official, I didn't get the feedback for the heat maps from those. But I know that, we've been working with the mock test for for last 2 years, I guess. So, for the SAT, the digital ones, right?
Yeah, it was the digital ones that they took. That was the main concern, and then for this school day one, I didn't hear a lot of feedback on that, so I don't know. The kids did say it was a lot harder if you managed, to score well and you got to the harder math questions. It was really hard. That's what they said.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
So,
interesting. And then the one that just happened. Yeah.
Yeah, the school day one that they took.
Okay.
I think we took ours probably like last week, I would say.
Okay, right. That's what I was told, that there was a citywide one offered. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think schools took them in different days. So some schools took it. So ours was on the 23rd.
Oh, okay.
And then I think FDR took it the week before. So, and I think Brooklyn Tech is taking it either last week or this week. I think it's this week, actually. They're doing 2 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ms. Rothman had spoken with the students. We have less students than we used to have at the tutoring house. It's a smaller class.
Okay.
But she said that the reason we had half attendance last week, she said, well, they all just had their practice SAT.
Okay.
But this is, we've been using the modules and then realign, but basically it just took out, there's no complex numbers, no law of sines or cosines. Like, all the algebra 2 is gone, basically. On the math side, I don't know about the ELA side. Like, if it's the same vocabulary list or if it's the same grammar.
No, the ELA is totally different, too. The passages are shorter,
right.
And then they have something like, there's 2 passages that you read and you have to find the correlation between them, and you might answer 1 to 2 questions. So
okay.
it wasn't like you read a huge long passage and then you have to go answer many questions on that passage. So yeah, the ELA is totally
different. It's more like the ACT then. Yeah, where the like comparison, and then inference, more inference questions.
Yeah, actually a little bit. But I feel like the ACT was a little bit harder and maybe lengthier.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well,
right. Yeah, those are long. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. I was a little bit concerned because I know we just switched over from college Common App essay writing, and now we're moving over to math. But I feel like math is Josh and I were just talking about the digital SAT math because of the modules. If you did really well on the first module, you end up in the harder module questions. And I do notice that a lot of the children and students found that the harder one was really super hard, and kids that are taking like AP Calculus BC are actually struggling to take that last portion. The grades are not out yet. I know I asked a couple of kids, and they said that the grades haven't come out, but from what I see on Facebook, the math scores, a lot of the parents were saying that their child who's very good in math, their scores went down. So I don't know what it is, but I do know that some of the people that were talking on Facebook, they said that Algebra 1 was bigger than, like a lot of the kids don't remember Algebra 1, like they know the more advanced, like geometry and Algebra 2. So definitely, like, that's what got me into spurring, like, we always need more, math help, right? Regardless if it's for SAT prep or if you're in Algebra 1 or geometry, I feel like it never hurts to do a math refresher. So that's what my brainchild on this workshop that I wanted to do. And it worked out great because now the new digital SAT does have really harder math questions that kind of bring you back into, remembering what was in Algebra 1. So hopefully with these workshops that we're hosting for the next, I believe it's 8 weeks, these would be really good workshops for your kids, and hopefully that they will get that math refresher that they need. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Josh from Chang Learning Center, and I'll let him introduce himself.
All right, good evening. Hi, everybody. My name's Josh. I'm from the Chang Learning Center. I've been working for 9 years, going on 10 years, as their math specialist. I grew up in New York City. I went to the Young Wing Astor Program for Gifted Children down in Chinatown at PS 124 with Sam Cooper. And It was a really terrific public school. Uh, just as an example, we had amazing lessons. You learn how to tie your shoelaces in kindergarten, and then we had an incubator. We did the binary system. We raised baby chicks. It was a bit of a different school, but we started working with computers in kindergarten. I know that in the curriculum now it starts in 5th grade, but yeah, we started working with how computers work in kindergarten. Then I went to the center school, which was run by women out of Lincoln Center. Just a nod to Elaine Schwartz, just retired. She's in her 90s. She founded the school as well as New York Teaching Fellows. So if you are a child and you'd like to be a teacher, you can get scholarships if you went to city schools with New York Teaching Fellows. They help you become a teacher. Then I went to Bronx Science and I double majored at City College and went to Columbia for a master's in mathematics. So I've been working as a teacher in math for over 16 years. And I hope everyone's well and enjoying their studies, and that you have a safe desk and chair to get your work done in the time that you want to sit and study. So here we go with a standardized test. The standardized test for American students is the SAT. And we have the new format with the 2 modules. So I'm going to go over a little introduction. Remember that whether you like math tests or not, if you approach it sort of as a goal, sort of what you want to do is you want to post it with your full attention. So maybe you can see that it's something that you want to add to your college portfolio, that you too can see how you can improve your score on the SAT just by focusing and by strategizing with your time, your study time, because you're a very busy student with a lot of interest as you grow up. But if you want to get a higher score on the SAT, you really can if you budget your time, maybe 2 to 3 hours a week, with either a tutoring course or a tutor, or just with a group of study friends. Or if you work with your school math department or parent coordinators, they can help you with resources as well, certainly for any of the big standardized tests for college. So here's the new SAT, and as you can see, it's 2 modules of math, and in this format, it's listed as 43 minutes per module, and there's 27 questions in each module. Here's an example of the course that I've been writing for the last 9 years for the Chang Learning Center, and you can see that it's like a checklist of skills. There's actually a check in the first checkbox. But as you go through a class like this, remember that the test itself has like a checklist of teacher lessons that are being tested. So the first 10 or so lessons are algebra, and then we do geometry, then we do algebra 2, and then probability statistics ends the class. Because the SAT has changed, like if you look at lessons 21, 22, and 23, are no longer required knowledge for 11th and 12th graders. 10th, 11th, who are taking the SAT. So those have kind of been eliminated from the checklist. But other than that, if you look at these skills, you're like, hey, I worked so hard on quadratic formulas. My teacher was great. She or he was great. And oh yeah, I remember exponential growth or decay problems like in the science lab, or saving money for college, like my parents say, and after 15 years, how exponential growth works, and etc., etc. So these are, in its current form, we do have 33 lessons. This is the 28 lesson checklist course. So it can really help you with your time management. Maybe you go through the list of 28 topics, and you're like, yeah, I can already do 10 of these. I don't think I need extra time to do linear equations. Y equals mx plus b, I know that. I know I know inequalities. I know how to do the Pythagorean theorem, right, number 17. Then you can go through those and you can save your study time, and with less anxiety approach the test with a real strategy using this like a bulletin board checklist. So it's really important for standardized tests, because they're standardized for 2 to 3 million students who are attempting the exam, And you want to be one of the students that improves their score as you strategize and use your time management. So continuing now with the College Board handout for teachers, on the left you can see how teachers grade your score once they get the score from the College Board. So you add the number of correct questions, and then there's actually a table where the scores go from 200 is the minimum score if you sit down at your desk, as well as a perfect score of 800 for both the English section and the math sections. So the highest score in the current SAT format is still 1600 is a perfect score, and the lowest possible score is a 400. And Module 1 and Module 2 in math is the new format without most of the Algebra 2 topics. But you should be familiar with these advanced topics as you get ready for your SAT, if you already have been tried a couple of practice tests or official tests. You should know SOHCAHTOA, exponential equations, geometric compositions like a bay window, like a semicircle on top of a rectangle, like basic things that are clicked together like Lego pieces, or right? They're geometric compositions, right? And how to decompose them, so that you can do either the area or volume. You should be familiar with the coordinate plane. It really is necessary for most STEM fields. You need to know how to map in ordered space, and you need that for any science, technology field, and engineering as well. Graph theory and probability are a little bit new on the new SAT. So if you have things like a basic graph theory question is like 10 workers walk into a room and are greeted by an employer, and all 10 people want the job. How many handshakes are needed so that the employer and all 10 of the workers have shaken hands? What's the minimum number of handshakes? So graph theory are more like puzzle questions. So if you have an advantage for those kinds of combinatorics questions and probability questions, if you've done puzzles with like your school math team, or tried any math contests, or just like reading puzzle books, then you'll say like, hey, I read this in a puzzle book, or I read this, I was underneath the crossword, there was a math puzzle like this. Like, oh yeah, right next to Sudoku they had these weird math puzzles. And you'll see that more and more on the SAT, because it has to do with the type of creative thinking that we need for engineers and people who work in math. At any rate, what it boils down to in terms of your practical strategy, as you review your Algebra 1 and Geometry, is that if you get a 30 or more out of 58, 30 pretty much being the minimum, your 30 to 38 will earn you a score of 500 to 600. And what does that mean? Well, it is a standardized test, so they have these bandwidths for the 500 sort of minimum scores, 600, the earliest score on most tests is about 38 to 41, and 700 if that's your goal. But, oops, let me go to the normal curve. What that means is that the SAT is a normalized curve because there are so many data points. Those data points tend to normalize, with the average student being a large group earning a 500, and then less students on both sides either doing better than the average score or performing less than the average score. So if you're familiar with, if you're taking AP Statistics or taking a pre-calculus class, you should be familiar with this curve where half of the test results are on the right and half of the test results are on the left. And you can see there, if you, from the 54 questions, for example, the average score is granted 500 points and the standard deviation is 100 points. So what that means is that if you, in terms of the number of correct responses, if you answer 0 to 5 questions correct, you're going to probably earn a 200. Between 11 and 13, you've reached the 300 level. 21 to 25, you've reached the 400 level on the math SAT, and so on. 30 to 32 is the 500. If you're looking to go above the 600 fence line, 38 or more. and 45 or more if you'd like a 700 score or above. So as you strategize, as you're like, hey, I want to get to the next fence line, the next standard deviation line, remember that most colleges are impressed if you're on the right side of a normal curve on a standardized test. So it doesn't just have to be math. It can be the hard science, it could be chemistry, it could be ELA, it could be United States history, any standardized test. When it's normalized, you want to be one of the students, if you're going to include it in your portfolio, that is on the right half of the curve. Okay, so that's just a point in presenting your good side, so to speak. It literally is a score of 500 or higher for this exam. So since I work at Chang Learning, and we have a lot of students who speak multiple languages, I think over 12 languages are spoken at the tutoring house. We have a lot of students who are the first generation, and they speak Chinese, they speak Arabic, they speak Italian, they speak Polish, they speak Russian, so and on and on. And so the ELA scores are quite low, and so are the math when they're word problems. So what we do is, it's nice to have a tutoring course to hold your hand, so to speak, because all we're doing is we're giving you presenting it to you with exposure, word exposure, so that you can improve your score. Oh yeah, I remember the last paragraph was so confusing, but after working through just a few hours a week, you get the way that they write it, and you can improve your score, and you've had over a 90% success on getting students above the 500 score on their SATs. Okay, so it's really good, again, to work with sort of a checklist of skills when you're presented with this sort of question, which is a post in your educational career. All right, the other thing that's new about the SAT is it used to be arranged easy, mid, and challenge level, but according to our tutoring house data, there is no pattern of it starting out with easy blocks and then going to the more difficult questions at the end. So that's a little unusual. We didn't find any pattern that it's, oh, module 1 is all algebra and module 2 is all geometry. In fact, it seemed to be almost like randomly generated. But it did include the same topics from our checklist, okay? So if the new ones for this year are starting to do that, you'll find that that's exactly because tests in college in the sciences, in math and science, are like that. The first half are the basic concepts on most math and science classes in college. And then the second half of your college test will be the multi-step concepts, come from many lessons, and the more complicated questions come at the end. Okay, that's the way most math and science exams go in high school and college in mathematics. The other interesting thing is it's a lovely new format of 5 and 2. So you have 5 multiple choice, where you can use elimination, you can try plugging in the answers, but then they have 2 where you can't do that. So you have to engage it more as a student and then enter a final answer that you've calculated. Okay, so it's a different rhythm because you can use multiple choice strategies for 5 questions, but then for those 2 questions, you just got to work it out. So for students who that's a problem for them, you say, okay, no problem. Skip the student response questions, go to the next block of 5. Just get the work done because it's a timed test. After you do these 5, 10, 15, 20 multiple choice, you can relax a little bit, take 3 deep breaths, right? And then go back and say, okay, now I'll try this student. I can with more focus, because I'm warmed up because I've been doing math, I've been doing, oh, that was algebra, that was geometry. Now I'll try those extra 7 questions that are student response. So in the old test, you had all the multiple choices first, and then all the student responses at the end. So you can try that strategy to get a higher score. If you're like, hey, I do better on multiple choice, just do these blue bar ones. Those are all the 20 multiple choice ones. And then check the time, say, oh my goodness, I have 14 minutes left. Okay, then you have 2 minutes per question to get those orange barred ones done, okay? So the point is to use your powers of reason to pick a logical strategy for yourself so that you're reducing the math anxiety, the math panic. I mean, depending on whatever your teacher calls it, that math panic that can happen when you're like, oh my god, I don't know what to do at this moment. So instead, just be logical. Be like, okay, I know what I can do. Just going through the multiple choice first, that's gonna be a strategy, and then that's a very logical strategy to keep you focused and keep you working. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a few basic problems from the SAT math. And this is straight from the Chang Learning lesson number 1 and a few of the other early algebra lessons. And here we go. So here's some basic examples of SAT and how you too can manage and look for shortcuts that are good for standardized tests. So let's start with a sample question from an old SAT. It says, if 5x plus 6 equals 10, what is the value of 10x plus 3? So I want everyone, if you'd like to participate, I'm going to turn chat on. I don't know if you can see the chat window if I drag it or overlay it. But I'll give you guys 2 minutes and see if you can find the correct answer. And then we'll compare, all right? And I won't call on anyone. But in 2 minutes, we'll share. I'm going to mute right now. Good luck, and we'll talk again in 2 minutes. Okay, good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yes, the correct answer was C. Everyone in chat, if you're participating in chat, you check the chat window, everyone had C typed as their final answer. Okay, and also just be very careful when you bubble these in or click on the digital that you double check your answers. Okay, if it slips or if the arrow moves or something, that's not fair either. Okay, so just make sure you double and triple check if you have time. C is correct. Would anyone like to share their method? How did you know that it was C? And maybe we'll see if this thing works. Oh, not bad. Okay. So, would anyone like to share? If you raise your hand or just turn your mic on. How did you get the correct answer, C? C was absolutely correct. How'd you get that?
So I kind of took the first part.
I'm sorry, can you identify yourself? What is your name? Who are you?
Oh, it's me, Lillian.
Oh, hello. Thank you, Lillian. All right, can you explain what did you do for question 11?
I took the equation 5x plus 6 equals 10,
Okay.
and I subtracted 6 on both sides.
Okay, so I'll write that out. 5x plus 6 equals 10. Okay, minus 6.
So then
minus 6.
that becomes 5x equals 4.
Okay, and then what?
And then I divided by 5
Okay.
on both sides, so
Okay.
that's x equals 4/5.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then I took whatever x is and I put it in the other formula. So it's 10 times 4/5, which makes it 8.
Okay, so notice Lillian carried over here. Okay, 8. Good. Why is that 8, though?
So that's 4/5 times 10. So 5 divides into 10 2 times, and then it multiplied by 2.
Oh, so you didn't make
2
it.
times
You didn't
4.
make it 40. You just saw that 5 goes into 10, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 2,
So I just kind
1.
of did 10, 2, right.
Cool,
exactly
cool.
like that.
So now it's 4/1 times 2/1, which is 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then 8
And then
plus.
3.
Good work. Everyone see
Yay.
that? 11 is absolutely correct. All right. It makes sense, everybody? Yeah? Okay, very good. All right, that was a lot of scribbling that I did there, but that was really good that you saw right away that you used your factor skills. Did anyone solve it a different way? Anyone? All right, ladies and gentlemen, notice how good Lillian has shown her mastery of Algebra 1, of multi-step algebra. She went right to work. She knew that algebra is balanced on both sides, minus 6, minus 6, and she knew the inverse operation was division. And then she, again, like I said, carried over her value for x that she had solved the first equation, and then went to work on the expression and got the correct final answer. Okay. When you're working on a standardized test, and you'll develop these skills, whether or not you like puzzle books or math, you can do shortcuts that are very useful for time tests, which I'd like to show you on the next slide. So here's an example of 2 students who cleverly use shortcuts to save between 15 and 30 seconds on the same question that Lillian just described to you. Okay, so I invite you to read these next slides with me together. We're going to look at student number 1. Student number 1 did the exact same thing that Lillian did, and she or he, I need an arrow. Can we do this? Yeah. Notice that this student subtracted 6 on both sides and had the same second line, 5x equals 4. But the student saw that, well, 5x is there, and the expression that we're going to work with next is 10x. So instead, the student doubled the left side and doubled the right side, and now that term is solved for. So now 10x equals 8, and that means that 8 plus 3 must be 11. Okay, so this student cleverly saw from before they solved the problem that we're starting with 5x, but the next job here is to work with 10x. So instead of solving for a fraction and plugging in, simply double both sides, and now we have that term solved and save their work time. So that's an example of a student who's working a little bit faster on the standardized test because they saved a few steps that Lillian correctly went through, but her process would take, this is a nice quick shortcut, seeing that 5x can be just doubled, and right away we can have the value of 10x. Student number 2 as well did a clever shortcut. So here's the shortcut for student 1. Student number 2 saw that 5x plus 6 is 10, and decided to double the entire equation from the start. So what this student did was they took the equation and then wrote, since 5x plus 6 is 10, 10x plus 12 must equal 20. So they took each of the terms and scaled it by 2. This term is double size, this term is twice as large, and this term is twice as large. But according to the laws of math, you can do that with an equation. You can scale it or divide it, just like, right, like you can use a scale factor on an equation, okay? So the reason they did that is because now the next step is subtract 9 from both sides. 20 take away 9 is 11. 12 take away 9 is 3. And we get the same expression and the same answer, 11, with shortcut number 2. What both students recognized right from the get-go was that, okay, we have an equation that has a 5x in it, and they were able to save their work time by seeing that the expression we're about to work with was 10x. So what you should know when you do a standardized test like the SAT is that the writers designed the questions to reward students who can already do the shortcut. And whether you think that's fair or not, if you do more and more of the SAT exams, you'll find that it's these math worker shortcuts that help students get a better score, because you're saving your test time, and then you have more time for the more difficult questions. So that's why some students get stuck. They're like, oh, I got a 700, but I ran out of time, or I got a 600, but I just ran out of work time. It's good to know these like little math shortcuts, and that'll help you also with your time management as well. So let's look at another example where we can use a time shortcut and for another question on the SAT. So here for example number 3, it reads, the Borealis Lighting Company sells special bulbs that last for many years. However, each bulb costs $99 plus $8.25% tax, plus tax of 8.25%, excuse me. What is the total cost for 6 of these items, rounded to the nearest dime? Okay. So if you notice this problem and we extract what's important, it's an item that we're going to purchase. We're going to purchase 6 light bulbs at $99 each. And then we're going to add a tax to that, so it will be whatever it is, 6 times 99, we have to pay the government tax of 8.25%. So the way to solve this problem fast and accurate is to use what we call estimation, which you should be familiar with since middle school, from grades 5 to 8, it's a little bit difficult to figure out how much it costs if the bulbs are $99. But all I do is I say, well, what if the bulbs were $100? Then 6 of them will be $600. So that's exactly what you do to solve question number 3. So let's see what happens when we just round up to make the math easier as a time shortcut. Whoops. Okay, so first we round the price from $99 to 100. Then we have 100 times 0.825. Well, that's not hard to do. That'll be exactly $8.25. You just move the decimal, the 2-place rule, where you have to move the decimal to 0.0825. When we multiply by 100, it keeps the decimal in the exact same spot. Then, since it's just 100 plus tax, each light bulb is $108.25. Multiply that by 6, 600, 6 times 8 is 48, plus 6 quarters, well that's $1.50, gives us a total of $649.50. Then looking at the answer choices, you can see that we have an overestimate. That means that all of these answers are eliminated. The bulbs aren't $100. So answer B is an overestimate. So we can eliminate that. C is even more than that, and D is more of an overestimate, and the only logical choice is A. So believe it or not, the SAT writers are rewarding students who know how to estimate. They're saying, well, even, and it's kind of a deep concept, but they're saying, okay, I'm going to write a problem for these school children where if you use estimation, you can save a minute of your exam time. Because estimation is an important skill for a worker to have in the workplace. Does that make sense? Okay, so here the bulbs cost an unusual amount, $99. But yeah, if you're working at a company and they want you to get the job done, yeah, estimation is used all the time in the workplace. Okay? All right, any questions? Does that make sense? You're just as accurate, and you're getting the correct answer A and saving your test time. Okay, so looking for shortcuts when you're working in math and algebra. Before we do the quiz, let's do one more, because I think that this would also help you with understanding the way SAT questions are written. So let's do number 7, and I know I haven't met you guys, but would anyone like to read question number 7? And you'll see how SAT readers writers also write the questions to reward students who know the shortcuts for these math lessons. So I guess Jasmine or Zoo or Yen, would you like to read tonight? If you'd like to.
I'll read it.
You'll read it? Is that Lillian?
Yeah, it's me,
Hey,
Lillian.
hi. All right, can you read question number 7? There's another one where it's actually written to reward teachers who've taught their students the shortcut. Yeah.
Okay, so it's McCoy Max Speed Inc. makes custom skateboards for its customers. 2 wooden skateboards and 5 composite skateboards cost $900. 3 wooden skateboards and 2 composite skateboards cost $750. How much would Mr. McCoy Max Speed charge a customer who purchases 5 wooden skateboards and 7 composite skateboards?
Okay, thank you. Very good reading. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'll highlight the 2 orders. Let's say a first skateboard group of friends or a skateboard team walks in. Like, well, we need 2 wooden skateboards and 5 composite skateboards. I would code that as 2W for the 2 wooden, 5C for the 5 composite, and the McCoy Max Speed, the shop manager says, well, that would cost your team $900 for those skateboards. Another team walks in, we'll call them Blue Team. Blue Team says, well, we need 3 wooden skateboards, and we need 2 composite skateboards for our team. And the store manager says, well, that would equal a cost for your shopping list, that would be $750. But we coded in math, 3 times the wooden, 3W, plus 2 composites, and their shopping list is $750. But then, the question is, with those 2 orders, can you figure out how what's the cost of 5 wooden and 7 composite? Well, in most classes, when you have a system of 2 equations and 2 unknowns, you use a method to solve them. Does anyone know how they could solve this equation? These are the systems of equation using algebra. If you've had this lesson already, I know that there are some 9th graders who also get ready and 10th graders who get ready for the SAT. But if you think back to Algebra 1, how do you solve a system of 2 when you had like 2x plus 3y equals 10, and 5x minus 9y equals 15? Like, how would you solve it?
Can't you just add the W's and the C's and then the values? So it'll be 5W. So 2W plus 3W equals 5W plus 7C equals 1650.
That's right. That's exactly right, Lillian. So the idea here is that this word problem, which is then converted into language of math, has a shortcut in the writing. And the shortcut was, well, what if these 2 teams, Team Red and Team Blue, put all of their shopping lists into one shopping cart? And so we'll go to the next slide. Very good. That was exactly it. We don't have to solve for x and y using elimination or substitution. The SAT shortcut, which you should look for all the time when you're taking your SAT, is to simply add the equations together. So if they teamed up and went shopping together for these skateboards, notice what happens. And I'll draw a flow arrow so you can see that. The correct thing to do is put them into one shopping cart. We take the 2 wooden and 3 woodens from the 2 different orders, put them into one shopping cart, the 5 composite in 2, and then we have 7. And that was exactly the way it was written. It was written for them to join forces, so to speak. And then you can see that right away the storage would charge $16.50, and you save time. You don't have to eliminate a variable or substitute a variable to solve this. The shortcut was just add the equations together, and they're rewarding students that can set up the system, but see that the shortcut is add equation 1 to equation 2, and then you have the new total at the shop would be $1,650. And that's exactly the items that they were looking for. All right. Any questions on that idea? That's a nice shortcut for a standardized test. Okay. We have 1, 2 from the first team, 3 more. That's in one shopping basket now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're now together with these 2 extras, and 9 for $7.50. And we have the correct order for the larger order when both groups are together. Excuse me. Any questions, guys? Good? Good so far? All right. All right, so what we're going to do now tonight is I'm going to present to you, just like we do at the tutoring house, we have a warm-up quiz of 5 questions. And so for the past 9 years, I make sure that when students walk into class, we sit down, and when students are on time, we start with a quick 10-minute quiz. And then if students walk in late, 5 or 10 minutes, they can also receive the quiz and work quietly. So it's a good way to start the lesson. It starts with 2 easy-level SAT questions, 2 mid-level, and 1 challenge level. And again, being a tutoring house, and it's like a library, you know, they just collect year after year hundreds and hundreds of questions in like a question bank, so that we can, you know, use them as extra worksheets. Notice that it starts with algebra. This is an algebra heavy worksheet. So quiz number 1 is all algebra questions. But what I invite you to do now is I'll give you 12 minutes to try one of our class quizzes. And then I'll go over it with you, just like we would in class, with a way to solve each question in under 2 minutes, which is a goal when you're doing a standardized test. So I invite you one and all. I'm going to take the link from SAT Math Quiz number 1 for here at Fort Hamilton, and I offer it to you in the chat window. So I'm going to... this isn't working. Are you still here?
Yep, we're still here.
My screen froze. Oh, now I'm back. No, I'm not. Yeah, the button's not working. I need to refresh. It's not letting me send it.
Actually, let me see.
It's weird. Well, let me do this one.
Do you want to unshare and then...
Alright, that one... Alright, let me just see if the file's locked for some reason. Hold on just a second. SAT quiz number 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the raw files from the class here.
Okay.
So maybe it'll let me share this one. Oops. Yeah, no problem. Alright.
Okay,
So,
these questions that you do, you know, like once you submit it, it would let you know which ones you got wrong and right. So there's nobody's tracking this data, so just, you know, this is really for you to get that extra practice and you know, kind of refresh your math. So.
Yeah, so if you click on the blue link in the chat window, it'll open up to a Chang Learning worksheet. So these are binned. They are binned at the school. So your email will be collected at the school, but I don't think you're gonna get like advertisements or anything sent to you. No, but your email will be saved at the school. But if you'd like to come to the tutoring house, I mean, I work there, so do the best I can for you guys. Okay, so if you click on the link, I'll give you guys 12 minutes for these 5 practice questions, and please begin. And good luck on SAT quiz number 1. It's 5 practice questions on the SAT. You can enter your name and then make your final selections at the bottom, and then you can digitally submit them, and they'll be saved at the Chang Learning Center. If you click on if you click on the form, it will also send a copy to your email address if you click on this blue switch. Excuse me. Okay, good luck. So 5 practice questions. Uh, 12 minutes. Okay, I will see you in 12 minutes. Good luck. Okay, good luck, Marie. Okay, very good. Good luck, Maria. Okay. Alright, so this is my online lecture at Fort Hamilton High School. They're doing a quiz for my SAT Saturday class, so I hope they do well. 12-minute break for me, and then we'll go over it, and then also go over a couple of fun problems with the Pythagorean theorem. It's going to be wonderful. You're going to love it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last 15 seconds. Get ready to make your final selections at the bottom of the form for the 4 multiple choice and 1 grid in. I noticed some people submitted, and the good thing here is that you didn't skip any questions. So whether you got it right, incorrect, or incorrect, on standardized tests, make sure you don't skip any of the questions, because there's no penalty for working on it and then guessing, and then you might get it right. Just make sure for the multiple choice, like, use elimination. So even if you do this, you're like, I don't know, 2, 3, and 4, but if you just make sure you don't leave them blank, okay, if they're multiple choice. So that's what you should be doing. That's your job when you're doing a standardized test, as you work on them, okay? All right, 5 more seconds. Okay. All right, good effort here, and looking at the results, everyone got question 2, it looks like. Question 2 is the easiest one? I didn't think question 2 was the easiest one. It's easy, it wasn't? Everyone got question 2, the swimming class. Maybe we don't need to go over it. Question 3, oh wait, there's someone else that's submitting. Okay. Very good. All right. All right, so the school computer is on my side screen here. I see, thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Jasmine, working on the worksheet. There's a Maria here. Thank you, Maria. And Lillian and Yen. And here we go. All right. So yeah, it looks like questions 2, 3, and 4 had the most correct responses. So why was number 1 so hard? Let's go back to the slideshow. And what I'm going to do is I'll quickly go over the problems, and then I'll just open up the floor if there's anything else you'd like to go over as we go over each problem one at a time. Okay? So I'll just pause and be like, any other questions about this problem? Okay? It should be like that. Should give you a moment there here. This is question 1. Easy level. If x minus 1 over 3 is k, but k is 3, what is the value of x? A little weird here when you're looking at left to right or right to left. K is the variable on the right side of the balance bar, right side of the equal sign. So the number 3 belongs there. That's the most common error. So make sure when you plug in k equals 3, that you plug it on the right side. If you plugged it on the left, you're like, I don't see a match, it doesn't work out. It works out to be, what? 2/3. It doesn't work out to be a whole number. However, you plug in 3, the next step that's tricky is the opposite of dividing by 3 is multiply by 3. And look, there's an error here. That should say multiply by 3 in blue. If you multiply by 3, 3 will cancel on the left, and then you'll have x minus 1 equals 9. Last step, add 1 to both sides, and the correct answer is 10. Any questions on number 1? Number 1, for some reason, I'm looking at all the school responses. Only half the students got number 1. Why is this so hard? Rhetorical question, I guess. Number one was supposed to be easy level. What would make this problem easy if you got it wrong, looking back? Any idea? Whether you got it right or wrong, Jasmine or Maria or Lillian? What's a strategy you can use for question number 1 to get it right that you know? I'll put them on the left. You know what to do. You shouldn't sit there and be like, I think I'm making errors in my algebra. What can we do? It's multiple choice.
Yeah, I don't know why, but for the very first moment, I divided by 3. So I was like, oh wait, I was supposed to multiply.
Oh, okay. So you divide.
Yeah, so that's how I got it wrong.
Okay. Lillian says she got it wrong. She just made an algebra error. Well, this is a.
I'm so used to writing it, and because it's online, this is where I'm having that problem.
Okay. This is a super great problem to just go to the multiple choice answers, right? Because it's one of that set of 5 that will be in a row that'll be multiple choice. So just plug in A, B, C, D. So that's why whoever wrote this problem is like, well, here's one that the students who are working could plug in the 4 answers and see that 3 of them don't work, but only 10 will work. So, Maria, can you turn your mic on? Can we do that together by plug in? We're going to plug in the answer choices. Can we do this together? Is that fair? Where's Maria? Is she still here in chat? Did I scare her away?
She might be shy.
She's shy? Well, can we do it with Lillian? Can we do it with Lillian? Is that fair?
Yeah, I can do it with you.
Alright, let's go. Okay, so we're going to try plugging in A. We're going to do these one at a time, but I'm writing black on black, so that's not good. Alright, okay. So I'm putting up a win on the right side. A, we're going to plug in x equals 2. Right? And we already know what k is, so we're starting at this step. So then if we plug in 2, what happens?
Well, it's 2 minus 1 is 1/3.
Is 1/3. Is that equal to 3?
No.
No, so it can't be A. What about B? X equals?
B is 4. So 4 minus 1 is...
Yeah.
3.
4 minus, sorry, I'm going to write it out because unless you know how to do this test-taking strategy, this is how you do it. 4 minus 1 is 3. Yeah, 3 upon 3 is?
1.
Good job, Lillian.
Yeah.
All right, any questions, ladies and gentlemen? All right, so B is a dead end, so now we've eliminated A and B because they don't equal to 3 was the target value. A doesn't work, B doesn't work. Let's plug
so
in, yeah.
So 9 minus 1 is 8 over 3. 8/3.
Hold on, let me fix this one. Nope. Okay, so C, x equals 9. Then we'll have 9 take away 1 over 3 is 8 upon 3. And that's also not equal to 3. And let's see the winner, chicken dinner. It's 10 minus 1. What's 10 take 1? That's 9 upon 3. What is 9 divided by 3?
It's 3.
Alright, so D is absolutely correct. D is the only one by plug-in. Plug-in was the key idea here. And then it's a much easier problem. Alright, someone typed in chat. Maria said, oh. Yeah, so if you're working in math, it's not cheating by plugging in. I've heard students at the tutoring house year after year and they say, yo, you solved it by plug-in. They don't say yo anymore because the teachers don't permit that. They say, excuse me, you cheated, you plugged in the answer. No, that's working backwards. That's what you do on standardized tests. And it helps you reconnect to the skills. Then when you go to the next problem, maybe you won't have to plug in. But when it's possible, when you work, then when you just continue working. But if you're making a step error in your algebra, certainly plugging in is a great strategy for question number 1. That makes sense? Maria gave an O. O is good. Okay? So that's definitely a way to solve it. Only D will work, and you eliminate the ones that don't create balance. A does not create a balance with the number 3. Neither does B, C, or D. So those will not be, the left side will not be equal to the right side. 10 is the only number in this linear equation that will give a ratio of 3. We'll have 9 upon 3, which is 3. Okay. Any other questions or comments on number 1 before we move on? Maria, everyone's swear, Jasmine's okay? And also Yen is here. Hopefully Yen's still here. Zoo, any questions? It's good? Okay, I'm going to save this as a study slide. And yeah, that's a good way to solve number 1 if you're stumped or made an error. Question number 2 was well solved here. The tricky step, I think, was that there's 2 children going together, not just one child by his or herself. There's 2 children in the family. So C is the trick answer. But if you did it correctly, you got $900. Let's go through this quickly. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. A swimming class for tots costs $15 per hour. There are 2 children, 3 hours per week for 10 weeks. So 3 hours times 10 weeks is 30 hours per child. But then there are 2 children, you have to do 60 hours times $15. Why is this written like this? Oh, let me explain what's written on the page. So there are 2 children, so that means it's a total of 60 swimming class hours. So 60 hours times 15 is easier to do if we do this factor times 2 and do this factor times a half, because then it's the same product. Okay, 2 times a half is 1. What happens? Half of 60 is 30. Double of 15 is 30. I'm just showing you some of my math skills here. Then 3 times 3 is 9 with the double 0, with the 2 zeros. So this is just me because of my abacus-like skills that I learned when I was very young. Right? I saw that, oh, if I double this factor and make that one a half, it's the same thing. You could try it. Look, 60 times 15 is, well, that's 300. Placeholder, I'll put down a utensil. 60. And if you add up those using straight method, you get 900 also. But here I just use a factor skill. Okay, so that's why it says 30 times 30. Any questions or comments on number 2 before we move on? More than half of the group got number 2. Almost everyone. Everyone here tonight got number 2. Alright, this one was the greenest one on the school computer map. Alright, let's go to any questions before we move on? 5 more seconds. Speak now or hold your peace. Goodness gracious. Everyone okay? We're on number 3. Okay, that's it for number 2. Here we go, number 3. Number 3 was group-like terms, and it reads, which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? X squared y minus 3y squared plus 5xy squared minus negative x squared y plus 3xy squared minus 3y squared. So, how do you do this? Well, the skill is look at the elements and either use a highlighter pen, or I'll show you another method using a blue pen. Wherever I see xy squared, I'll put a square around it. It's there. No, it's not that. It's not that. So I only have one term that's xy squared. In the second equation, well, there's a double negative. So there's my xy squared. So that's why it's here as type 1. For type 2, I'll use a circle. So negative 3y squared. So that's here as a circle, okay, as I group the terms. In the second equation, I see the double negative thing going on again. So I'll have a positive 3y squared. And then lastly, I'll use an equilateral triangle for 5x squared y, and that's positive. And then I want to combine that with ones that are the same type, xy squared as well, xy squared. So there's another 3 here, but it's negative. So that's this triangle here. So then I'm ready to group like terms, but I'm not making mistakes because I use square, circle, triangle. I have one square, that's one of those things, plus another one of those things. I have 2 of those things. I have minus 3 plus 3, so I have 0 of these things, these circles. I have 5 of them, take away 3 of those, so I have 2. Well, what were they? Well, there's 2 x squared y's, because that's what it is. Then there's no middle term, as they're eliminated. And then 5 minus 3 is 2 xy squared. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. Again, if I don't sit down at my SAT with a bunch of highlighter pens or a box of crayons, I can just use basic shapes, just to find the ones that are the same. What am I talking about? When you're doing group-like terms problems, okay? Zhu said that that's C. Yes, good, Zhu. Thank you. Zhu has chimed in chat. Thank you. Nice to hear your voice in the chat here. Zhu said, yeah, I think it's C. C is correct. All right, any other questions? C is absolutely correct. Any other questions or methods for number 3? Good so far? All right. Next one, number 4. Let me clear the screen. Save study slide. We're good. On we go. All right, now, remember that just like any standardized test, you're like, well, I can do the first half, and now the problems are getting super hard. We're going to the ones that are already marked as more difficult questions on the SAT. And this is a system of 2 equations and 2 unknowns. You have x, y, and a constant value. And here's one way to solve this equation using elimination method. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take each equation and we're going to use what's called standard form. So unfortunately, some teachers don't teach this, but if I say like ax plus by equals c, and then I have a second equation, I can call that a little 2x plus b little 2y equals c little 2, a second constant c, a second variable, a second coefficient a and b. But notice that what's the same is I've put the a's into the first column, the y terms into the second column, like grouping like terms, and the constant number on the right. You can see that here. The constant will move to the right. And here I'll color code it because we have this cool coding color thing. So x is now in the first column. Y is in the second column. And the constant value is on the right. So it's just like in English when you have a sentence or two written out or a compound clause and you're just like, look, I like what you wrote, but can you go back and rewrite it? That's what we're doing in math. We're going back to the equation, we're rewriting it into something that expresses something that we need to, that we can manipulate and use that's more useful to us. So it says 2y plus 1 equals negative 5x. So for this equation, I'm rewriting it as 2y plus 1 equals minus 5x. I'll add 5x to the right, and I'll add 5x to the left. Then I have, putting in alphabetical order, 5x plus 2y plus 1 equals 0. Then, subtracting 1 from both sides, I have 5x plus 2y equals negative 1. So now, it's in standard form. It's in ax plus by equals c standard form. Okay? It's the analog is like following the rules of grammar. Neither A nor B equals C or something, right? Your teacher says, I want it in that form. Well, that's what we're doing. We're using the math form, standard form, ax plus by equals c. Okay, that's the analogy. That's the rewrite. When we look at the second equation, we don't have to rewrite it because x and y are on the same side. All we have to do is we just have to swap these. So I want this stated first, and then I want this stated second, because we're going to line up the columns again. So it says 2y minus 1x equals negative 19. So it's the same, but I'm just swapping those terms. Now it's negative 1x plus 2y equals negative 19. Make sure that you know that that means that's a plus 2y. Now that they're lined up, we can use the same skill that we used for the skateboard team problem. We can add or subtract them. And what we're going to do is, since we have 2y and another 2y, we're going to do 2y, first equation 1 minus equation 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. And then 5 minus minus 1 will be 6. And then going into the column, negative 1 minus minus 19 is 18. So again, we're subtracting column-wise, because we can do that. If you don't believe me, I'll give you an example. Without variables. And it really works because this is the way math is. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Right? Well, if we add them together, 3 plus 5 equals 8 is also true. I'm just adding in the columns. It's also true if we say 10 minus 3 equals 7 and 4 minus 1 equals 3. Well, if I subtract the second expression, which is what we're doing here, 10 minus 4 is 6. Negative 3 minus minus 1 is negative 2. It's weird. 7 minus 3 is 4. But it's true as long as you follow the laws of math. That's a standard SAT thing. Add or subtract. Add was wrong. This one we have to subtract the system. Okay, so now we've eliminated. 6x is 18. So this we subtracted for a different reason now. We eliminated a variable. Divide by 6 and x equals 3. So if you got number 4, you had to pick an answer where x equals 3. And the only correct multiple choice was B. 3, 8 could be the coordinate pair, because sitting for the x value, 3 is the only correct answer. So B was correct. Any questions or comments on number 4 before we move on? Zoo, a no from Maria. Zoo says no. Number 4. Can you please give an example where you have to add? Yes. Jasmine. We'll go back to the shopping problem with the skateboards that we did with Lillian earlier. That was a word problem, a word system. So that was back in the slideshow back here. Hold on. Wait. Skateboard. This one. That's what I meant. I should have drawn the arrows for you. So we had skateboard team A came in and we wrote the equation for their shopping list. And then they bring the basket to the register. The store owner says, okay, that's $900. Team B comes in with their shopping list. They put it in the shopping basket. The manager says that it's $750. Well, if we add add the two teams together, then we have the right shopping amount, because we want, the writer was like, well, how much are 5 skateboards and 7 composite skateboards? So that was a classic example. Maybe I started with one that's an advanced problem, where you add the system. Okay, Jasmine? Does that make sense? Yeah, that was the word problem. Even extra step, first you have to translate it, then know the SAT shortcut where you add the two equations. Okay? Okay, so whenever you see a system of equations, just pause for a second. Exactly. Take 30 seconds. Be like, okay, hold up, wait a minute. Maybe I can add them together, make them like one, like we'll make one big shopping cart. Or the opposite, you could be like, okay, we have this, but that's too much, so we'll subtract from the shopping cart, and then it'll change the value on the right, okay? So think about that, like adding 2 shopping carts together, or if you have too big a shopping cart, like putting a few items back. Right, like that. That's exactly right, yeah. All right. So that's a standard SAT, the way, actually exactly how the questions are written. Let's go back. Okay, hold on. All right, last one for tonight. Question number 5. We're reviewing the challenge level. And it says if a equals 5 root 2 and 2a equals square root of 2x, what's the value of x? So here you had to know the difference between a square and a square root. And here I'll draw it on the side. Okay, so here's a square, here's a larger square. Okay, if I draw the square and I tell you the length and width, going this way and going this way, we can also project the square from this corner, and it's a bigger square, so it's a longer side length. So I walk into class and I'm like, here's my desk. I'm comfortable. I'm like super relaxed. If there's like 3 feet in this direction, 3 feet. If I had a 3 by 3, that would be 9 feet squared, right? So we know that if the area is 9 square feet, that's my work desk. There's like 3 tiles this way and 3 tiles this way. If each unit, if it's a 1 by 1 square, right? So that's 3 by 3, so there's 9 square feet of area. What we use for this problem is, well, what if it was 10 feet on this side and 10 feet on this side of the square? And that's like a much larger space. That's like in an elementary school, like, you know, like the carpet, the teacher will sit like at one end and like all the students sit on like that 10 by 10 carpet. Well, that's 100 feet squared. So you should have this picture in your mental map, in your mind's eye. Like they're talking about squares and square roots. Just remember that's all it is. It's the area of the area of the space, but then the side length is the square root. So we're going to use that here. All right. So here it says a is 5 square root 2, and double that is root 2x. What's the value of x? So this is coming from this knowledge of your squared area and the side length or square root. So what's going on here is we have a, so if we multiply both sides by 2, we now have 2a. So we've moved from the expression on the left to the expression on the right. 2a equals 10 root 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move the 2 together with the 5, so we have 10 root 2. Then re-express this as the square root of 100, meaning that this is here. If we have 100 units, this side is 10 here and this side is 10 here. So you should know that from your Algebra 2 textbook. So then we have 2a is square root of 100 times the square root of 2. And when you multiply radicals, you can put them together. So this is 2 times 100, meaning that the mystery number x that's inside here is 100. So 2a is the square root of 2 times 200. The correct answer was 100. Looking at the computer data, almost every student who was able to work on this wrote down that it was 10. But no, 10 is the value outside of the radical. 10 is the side, like that is the square root. The correct answer is, remember, you have to put it back as the radical, re-express it as the square root of 100, so that it can be inside the radical sign. Okay, so about 4 or 5 of the wrong answers wrote down 10, but the correct answer was 100. So you need to review your knowledge of square roots, and I'll write it on the board before we stop for tonight. These are things that you need to know for the exam, right? 3 times 3 is 9, which means the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 1 is 1. Then we can continue. The square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 25 is 5. And so on. So that was what this problem was testing. The square root of 100 is 10. But it works. You can express them either way. You can express it as 10 or as the square root of 100, which is what we needed, because then we just combine them into one square root. So the number that needs to be underneath the radical needs to be 100. And 10 is incorrect, because that's the side length. Okay, so if you were one of the students that got it, you earn the 10 points for this, and this is considered a challenge level 1 for the SAT. Alright, any questions, guys? On number 5 before we stop? So just to give you an idea, this is a standardized test. The writers are really sort of looking back at the school year of lessons from all over the country, and what do they have in common? What were the neat shortcuts that a college-bound student could use in a problem like this? So remember, they're time savers, they're looking ahead to like the next step, or as well as grouping like terms, estimating, and yeah, just your basic knowledge of squares and square roots. So that's an introduction to algebra. We could do more worksheets together. But if you come back next time, again, I'll have more problems. We're going to look at a formula that you all should know, the Pythagorean theorem. Because that's another one that's really good to go over, because it shows you the way the exam is written when you're reviewing your high school work, that, oh yeah, a lot of classes use the Pythagorean theorem. And then we'll do quadratics next. All right, any questions tonight before we wrap up? The commute part and substitute part? Yes. All right, let me write it out. One more time for, that's Jasmine, right? Hold on, Miss Jasmine. Okay. So what do the blue notes mean? Here, I'll use yellow chalk so you can see it. So A is 5 square root 2's. Right? So if the square root of 2 is a thing, if this yellow arrow, it's 5 of these arrows. Right? It's 5 of these distances the square root of 2. So if we double that, 2A will be twice that. So I have the 2 on the right, but I could write that as 2 times 5 root 2. So all I'm doing is I'm scaling the left side of the right side. If you multiply the left side by 2, you multiply the right side by 2. Here I just put it on the